assalamu alaikum, ji ayanum, pakhairagale, ni hao, chunashumme, washmale, ohai gunzaimes, guten morgen, hola, bonjour, privyet, kaifa hal, haleshuma chatore, ahlan wasalan, marhaba, buna, mucho, gracias, swabia, bhalli gare aya, washmale, and thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning into PTV World. You watching World this morning, alongside the one and only Shahzad Hassan Khan. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope that, in other 40 countries, wherever you guys are watching us on your television screens, that everybody is doing perfectly fine and are ready to kickstart their day with me. Yeah, let's do that. Unfortunately, my co-host cannot make it to the show, but she did make it to the office, but she couldn't make it to the show, and it was because of the fact that she had a bad sore throat. She even still gave it a try, but couldn't do it. So yeah, Shiza, please make sure that you get well soon as possible. Fakir, what are you doing, man? You need to look after her as well. But other than that, ladies and gentlemen, I think everybody needs to look after everybody else as well. And since we are members of this society as well, so I think that there's a greater responsibility on our shoulders, where we kind of take this initiative of making sure that for everybody who surrounds us is actually at a very peaceful stage in their life. And I think it's for friends, it's for family members to do so as well. And quite often I've witnessed, in fact, that people really do not care what other people might be going through. And I think that being very considerate of what the other person might be feeling, or what the other person might be going through, is something which really needs to be understood in the first place as well. Because they even say that if a friend cannot actually understand without the other friend speaking that he or she is disturbed, I don't think that he or she actually deserves to be called a friend as well. But not just that, I think, ladies and gentlemen, other than that, the weather over here in Islamabad is changing. It's getting a little colder. Even my producer was telling me that yesterday you wanted everybody to wear their hoods, or probably an overall or something of that sort, so that they can protect themselves. But unfortunately, today early in the morning, when I was getting all dressed up, I was supposed to wear a dress shirt, which I wear normally as well. I just couldn't get it passed through my biceps. So, I had an emergency situation over there as well. So what I did was that I actually opted for a t-shirt, and then my producer was like, hey, you know what, you're not looking after yourself, we want you over here, and it is important for you to be here as well. So for everybody who's out there, the weather's changing, please make sure that you do not come under the weather as well. Look after yourselves, because it's going to change drastically. So please make sure, if you're using air conditioners, the usage needs to come down as well a little bit, so that the temperature of the body is actually moderate when you step out of the room as well. But that's something which we want everybody to do, and it's because of the fact that we do not want anybody to be sick, ladies and gentlemen. We want everybody to be happy, joyous, joyful, and make sure that that every single day when you get this opportunity, you make sure that you give in your best, and that it's a step closer towards your goal. That's one thing. That was a public service message brought to you by Shahzad Hassan Khan from the platform of PTV World and World This Morning. But today, I think that we're actually going to speak about Pakistan and China, ladies and gentlemen, the relationship which we enjoy. Because we might have, or a lot of people out there might have heard, Pak Chin Dosti Wong Swoi, or Pak Chin Dosti Zindabad for that matter as well. Because Pakistan and China, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy a brotherly relationship together. And I think through thick and thin, Pakistan and China has always made sure, to be there to support, and which is why I was talking about friends or friendship for that matter as well. And wherever we go, because I've traveled all over the world as well. I think probably 20 or 21 countries. Whichever country you would go to, you will actually find Chinese people over there. That's the best part. Whichever airport you're going to go to, whichever country you're going to go to, you will find Chinese people. And whenever you will be in conversation with them, the moment you tell them that, hey, I'm from Pakistan, they're like, hey, you're just like a brother. And there's one thing which I've learned from Chinese people, that they're very hardworking, and this is something which I've taken as an inspiration from them, because whenever I've been in conversation, I've done shows for them over here as well. I've done shows for Chinese national television, because in China, ladies and gentlemen, there's only national television, okay, so they might have different states and provinces as well, but all the channels are actually governed by the government. There are no private channels. So I was lucky enough to be there as well, and there were people who actually gave me a lot of good feedback, and it was fantastic. But to bring these cultures together, I think there needs to be a little more effort which needs to be made, so that more Pakistani people can understand the Chinese culture, and that more Chinese people can understand the Pakistani culture as well. So we have taken an initiative today. Today we will be in conversation with somebody who happens to be the coordinator for Silk Route planning. Now, I think it was very confusing for me early in the morning when, just yesterday I was told that, okay, so this gentleman is actually going to come in and he will talk about, the culture mix of Pakistan and China and how, things needs to go forward. So I think it was better to understand the culture in the first place and then move on with whatever conversation we wanted to have. So the gentleman's here. What is Silk Route is something we need to ask. Everybody confuses it with Cpec. Let's see whether it's that or not. But and how are the terms? How is the culture similar? Because while just before we got started with the show, I was having this conversation. I was like, is the Silk Route just like Cpec? She was like, Silk Route is actually the grandparent of Cpec or Cpec, or maybe otherwise as well. So ladies and gentlemen, here we go. We're about to start the conversation with this amazing gentleman. His Chinese name happens to be Alex, but his Pakistani name happens to be Mr. Amir Ali. Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning, ni hao.
Wa alaikum salam, ni hao. How are you?
Absolutely
nice to
perfect.
See you, Shahzad, again.
Han hao Nina.
Everything.
Are you fine?
I'm fine.
Well, it's great. Thank you very much for joining us. It's wonderful to have you. And the best part is that, having a Pakistani to make sure that, he's going to understand or make us all understand how the Chinese culture and Pakistani culture are similar to each other is something which is wonderful. But first things first, when we say Silk Route, what are we referring to?
Actually, Silk Route is as you said, it's a grandmother. It's not only the mother.
I said grandfather though.
Yeah, that's right. And Silk Route was a master plan. It was generated by the Chinese government.
Okay.
And after this, the second stage was One Belt, One Road initiative.
Oh, yes.
One Belt, One Road initiative is a brainchild of Silk Route.
Okay.
Silk Route planning.
All right.
Silk Route is in the past, as we all know, that hundreds and thousands of years before there was a route to export the silk and transport the silk. So it's called Silk Route. So Silk Route and One Belt, One Road initiative is joining 68 countries of the world.
Wow.
But when we talk about Cpec, Cpec is just only the one part. One part of Silk Route planning. So we always want to talk about Silk Route, Cpec, but we never understand what is a Silk Route planning. Silk Route planning is a very vast, very larger project which is covering for more than 68 countries, and the total budget for this project is $1,260 billion more.
$1,260 billion
more.
Yeah,
so it's increasing by the time.
All right.
While the part of our Cpec, what we call it is China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, the total value of this project until now is not even $70 billion. It's less than $70 billion, somewhere like 60,
I think one way or the other it's fine as well because it's just in between two countries, but having a trade route toward which actually opens avenues to 68 other countries, the budget needs to be $1,280 billion.
That is one point, but we are not understanding that Cpec is not one route only between China and Pakistan.
Okay.
We have a very larger opportunity to joint our collaboration with some other countries, like especially the Central Asian countries.
Yeah.
We are providing them the routes, and that routes is also for the transit up to the Gwadar port. So not only China will be engaged in this project, like Turkmenistan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, even Russia. They all will be engaged in the same project using, so that Afghanistan is also going to be a part of that. As you know, recently there are many news about Wakhan that they are going to build up a station in Wakhan. So they will also provide a route to these all countries. So we cannot say it's only between China and Pakistan. But since we can get the benefit from the Cpec is just regarding the transit, it can be huge. We need to make a calculation. And these are all calculations what Chinese have made and they have provided us. Like this is the way you can make generate the economy, you can generate the money, and this will be the payback.
So where are we on this? Are we working in that direction as well? Because you happen to be the coordinator for Silk Route yourself. So how much do you think that you have pushed things towards betterment, towards positivity, or towards economic reform?
Actually, I was owned by the Chinese governments because Silk Route, where I am engaged from the Chinese side.
All right. So you've
And
been hired by the Chinese people.
yes, and I am admired by the Chinese side as an honorary ambassador for the Silk Route.
Exactly.
But unluckily, not from the Pakistan side, because the Pakistan first, I don't stay in Pakistan as long.
Yeah.
And Pakistan government did not honor me in that way that the Chinese, they appreciated me. I must say thank you to the Chinese brothers. The first thing is that they really appreciated my work. They see like my qualities, they see how I come up with my ideas. So,
But do you think, I think that obviously I can feel that you do not feel really great about Pakistan not recognizing you as such, the Chinese did. But do you think that with this particular project we're talking about, Silk Route over here, do you think that, the Pakistan might not have the same interest as Chinese might? Do you think that that's the reason, or do you think that it's just that there's lack of awareness? And if there's lack of awareness, you are the coordinator. How are you making people aware over here in Pakistan?
You are right. We have lack of awareness. This is one point, and I want to say that I'm doing on my capacity. I'm doing a lot to let the peoples understand what is exactly Silk Route planning, what is One Belt One Road initiative, and how we are going to take the benefits from the Cpec.
Yep.
But till today, in all over Pakistan, we are still not successful to convey the message to the general public.
All right.
The general public don't have a clear idea what exactly is going to be in the Cpec.
Okay.
How we are going to get the benefit like you, me.
Yeah.
Or this benefit trigger effects is how it's going down to the normal people.
So let's give them that idea, let's talk about that.
Yeah. The first thing is that in the Cpec, the first thing is completed, it is called phase 1. But then we have phase 2, phase 3. Phase 1 was initial infrastructure.
Yep.
After the initial infrastructure, we have to move for the new project. It is called special economic zones.
Okay.
But what if is that we are ready for the special economic zones? Okay. I think the first thing is what? The first question I want to ask everyone. We did not still produce enough energy. We are not producing the energy to meet the requirement of our industry, that all. And the second point is, it's not we can just talk about the industry.
Yep.
Even you provide them the power, but what is the price you are providing the power for your industry?
Okay.
If you cannot get a better idea, why don't you ask me? I can tell you, I can suggest you the way.
All right.
For example, in all the world, if you want your industry to survive
Yep.
economically, your power sector should be like 6 cents for 1 unit.
All right.
But till today, our industry have to consume a power for like a 16 cent, 18 cents per watt.
Okay.
Nobody can survive. We have, if you want to ask me the solution, yes, sure, I can tell you. Right now, the thumb price for the solar power is like 5 cents with the 20 years agreement.
Yep.
So why don't you use the faraway areas, and in that faraway areas you plant that solar panels.
Yep.
And then engage it with the main rim, and you can just do it very simple. Like you ask NEPRA. NEPRA will charge NEPRA can charge 1 cent from you, just like a power distribution system.
All right. Service, yeah.
So NEPRA is getting a profit, and 1 cent you can bring it like a line losses. So that means the power sector the price will decrease up to 7 cents.
That's wonderful. Don't you think that people over here are actually thinking about it? But I think that the environment over here is not very conducive to have solar panels over here, and it's because of the fact. Just hear me out on this. You go to England, you roam around for 15 days, you won't have to polish your shoes again, and there's a reason why that is so, because obviously there's lesser pollution, and the number two, they made sure that they're going to plant grass everywhere as well. Now, we're in Pakistan, if you're going to put a solar panel or a system of such sort, which is going to be on such a larger scale, there's so much mud around, there's so much dust around as well, and then who will be doing all of that cleaning, who will be making sure that everything's working properly as well? And NEPRA, do you think that they're going to actually agree on 1 cent probably for just the power distribution? So I think we need to work a little more on this as well and get a detailed information. We need our researchers to be down there. But okay, we'll talk about that probably some other day as well. But since we were supposed to talk about the cultural similarities in between Chinese people and Pakistani people, because for me, ladies and gentlemen, whenever I've met Chinese people, I think the one cultural similarity I've seen is that people over here in Pakistan are very hardworking as well, and people in China are way more hardworking over there. So this is one thing which I could realize that okay, there's this cultural mix as well. But other than that, do they have joint family system? Do they have weddings like we have over here in Pakistan? And how is it? How is it living in China?
Yes, I think they have very Asian traditional cultures, and they are very proud of it.
Okay.
Whenever I talk with them, they always want to, like in their society, they have like, they refrain to smoke in front of their parents.
Yeah, okay.
They refrain to, even though that the drinking is not an offense in their society, but
Yeah.
still like they want to refrain in this kind of activity. They will care for the elderly peoples. They will bring them to the park. Even in China, they have the longer each side, like, but they care for their elderly parents a lot.
All right.
And they will carry them, they will put in the wheelchair, they will bring them around in the, so if like after 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock you go to their gardens, you will see a lot of old peoples, and that old peoples are still carrying the traditions of Chinese.
Okay.
So, and China is very proud of this. They always will talk to you what? They
Yeah.
will say, we cannot follow the Europe, we cannot follow the Western, we cannot follow the America. We are Chinese. We have our traditions, and our traditions are Asian traditions.
But usually when we say or refer to as Western culture, what we are trying to refer to is most commonly is the way we dress up, the way we move out, the way we go out, dine out, and things like the way we socialize as well. I think pretty much all of the globe is probably just doing that right now. Even if you're going to see Chinese person, they're probably more dressed up than any person in the West as well, and probably they are more into brands as well. Wherever I go, the most branded stores, ladies and gentlemen, all over the world, the most expensive branded stores, the only people you're going to see over there shopping are Chinese people for sure. So if you're saying that they really have their own culture and they do not want it to be just like the Western, so why are they out there shopping in all of their stores?
In this point, I want to support your idea.
Yeah, okay.
What you talked, it's exactly right. Most of the brands, what were going to be closed in the Europe and America, it's like 20, 30 years before,
Yeah.
they suddenly become alive.
Yeah, exactly.
If you go to China, the most cars you will see in China, especially in Beijing,
Yeah.
if someone don't have Audi or Benz, he is considered to be a poor person.
Exactly.
So, and also for the watches, for the jewelry, for the bags, for the
So
makeup.
then what's left behind?
So, but that never means they are losing their traditions. Tradition is something else.
Yeah,
Tradition is like how they celebrate their social events.
exactly.
So how they materialize their social contacts.
Okay.
So that is something different. But if
How do
if
they
we,
do that?
Very socially. They have very social, like they have one festival is called Qingming Festival.
Qingming.
In Qingming Festival, all the Chinese, they used to go to the graves of their parents, the grandparents, and they celebrate it like a very culturally for 6 days, 5 days. They will have off. Everybody will travel. No matter he's living in the north and he's traveling to south, he will go there. He will clean the tombs of his parents, grandparents.
Right.
He will put some lights on it, and then so this is a culture, this is a tradition.
Exactly.
If someone have a very beautiful brand, that is his style. It's why, because the Chinese, they just get rich, like I should say, like the instant coffee.
All right.
Like you make an instant coffee and they become rich very instantly.
All right.
So
But there's a lot of hard work behind that as well. But one thing just came up to my head as well, and that is that over there in China, I've heard, since I've not been to China myself, obviously I do wish that I go to China one
You're
day as well,
welcome.
because it's one of the leading countries now,
Yeah.
and one of the leading economies of the world as well. So they have their own Facebook, they have their own WhatsApp. So I think that way they have actually protected their culture as well. and they have given more opportunity to people within China to do well, and which is why now we see that, you know, you just said that it's like instant coffee, and that's how instantly they're getting richer as well. Obviously, there's a lot of hard work, but the government is giving them that opportunity to do what they want to do within their own country as well, rather than taking things from outside the world and then making sure that they utilize those services.
I should say they have the consistency in the policy.
Exactly.
Chinese, they think like this. They will say that we will think for 50 years, but once we start anything, then we will not step down. We will not stop it.
Exactly.
So even for the Silk Route, for the Cpec, they think it over for a long time. And once they start it, you should understand they will never step down.
Exactly.
So that this is a Chinese culture. They will think a lot. They have to, and they will never drop their ideas again. I must, in another TV program, this question, almost same question was asked to me, and I told them, do you have any consistency in your policy? He said, like what? I said, today, one government say that we want to build the orange train, but the next government come, he just freeze this idea. So that means you don't have the consistency. While working with the China, what I learned, like Chairman Xi Jinping, if he decided something, then this idea will float with the next generations.
Wow.
So that is the real spirit. It's a national spirit.
Exactly.
We need to learn from them what? It's a national spirit. Do you have a national spirit? If someone asks me, I will say what? Today, our one kind of government come up with a different idea, but once another government come and he just twists the ideas, everything is gone. Like Cpec, it was, unless this retired General Asim Salim Bajwa was not engaged in this project, what I was feeling, this project was almost frozen.
Okay.
So
That's a big
what's going to happen? Like, you have asked China to invest $66 billion. But then people ask, you give a lot of incentive to Chinese. I ask you one question. You are from Islamabad. But if I will ask you, like, is that you can invest like 50 kilometers away from Islamabad, like somewhere like Gujar Khan, somewhere like Chakwal, you will ask me why? Why I need to go there?
Exactly.
Then I will ask you, you will have this incentive, then you will consider.
Exactly.
But do you think the Chinese are coming to Pakistan and we will not give them any incentive and they still will come?
I think that's a very different debate, you know, since we gathered today to talk about the cultural similarities, one way or the other, you're bringing the conversation to a very agenda-based idea as well. So, you know, rather than we talking about that, I think we have infotainment shows to do so as well. You know, it's a morning show, we just want to keep it light. And there's no harm in giving somebody incentive if they're doing so much for you as well. And I think that everybody needs to be given that incentive as well for whoever has actually contributed towards the development of Pakistan, or for China for that matter as well. But there's this amazing, beautiful box right in front of you. What is in it?
I bring some calligraphic, some of very famous artists.
Wow.
But coming back to the culture, as I want to take an initiative,
sure.
I should turn the discussion into the cultural side because it's a morning show. So, like in the past, we had one movie. It's called Mera Naam Hai Mohabbat. It was played in China in the cinemas for like decades.
Wow.
But what I consider it was almost 3 decades continuously, and maybe it was the first movie in this region which was shown in China. But after that, what we are doing, China is a big market. It's a big movie market. Is that we are going to touch it?
But I think that you might not be aware that they only allow a certain number of films every year from outside the world to which needs to be showcased within the China. So, you know, for that, obviously, we need a little bit of more research, as in what is the number of films?
I have that all information.
Go ahead, tell us.
Totally 34 movies they can import, that can come to China. But no movie should be older than 2 years. This is one question. But targeting the Chinese market, we also need to consider 2 basic reasons. 2.
Go ahead.
One is China is a communist country. We cannot talk about democracy, with violence, or this kind of, we cannot highlight this kind of things.
Alright.
Secondly, because it's a communist country, we cannot talk about, in the movies, we cannot talk about the religion or some kind of discrimination, because,
Alright.
so we have, by keeping this in the mind,
Yep.
of course, India have hit a big market.
Exactly.
Why not we?
Yes, why not?
Why not we? They targeted the Chinese market. I wish, I wanted to promote the Pakistani movies in China, like by holding the Pakistan cultural and movie exclusive shows.
Wow, that's
But
wonderful.
of course, I need some hand from my government, like not a support from the funds, but a support like a moral support.
Exactly.
So
you
I
have
can
all
also
our moral support with you, Mr. Alex, and we will continue to support you for that as well. But since we're running short of time as well, so very quickly,
Okay.
what's in this box?
Okay, let me.
Right, so ladies and gentlemen.
So could you please help me as well, because
Well, I can
it's
help you,
something.
but I'm all wired up. Let's see.
Okay.
Yes, I cannot even stand. Yeah, because my wire is just tied to my seat. Yes.
Okay.
The other way around.
So it is something like this one, and
Can
it's
you, can you just please hold it the other way? Just straight it up. Yeah.
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 So this is a kind of a calligraphy and
What does it
painting,
show?
but this shows that the Chinese are like a friendly when they are sitting on the mountain. Actually, they take it like a friendly bird.
Okay.
They don't take it like an aggressive bird.
Alright.
So they say the Chinese are very friendly. So they are not showing like it's catching anything, but they just say sitting over there.
Sitting and keeping an eye on
Yeah.
everything. That's what
Keeping
the
an
point
eye-
is.
Yeah, and
that's wonderful.
secondly, whenever anyone make that kind of painting, he have a stamp and name.
Here is the stamp.
So this is stamp, and this stamp is very important. This means this one is very high and high
Can you
quality.
read? Can you read in Chinese as well?
No, actually, this Chinese, even Chinese, it's a very traditional Chinese, like
Okay.
4,000 years old script. So this is little bit difficult. Also for the Chinese, they need to keep the eyes, look at this very closely, then they will understand.
Yeah,
It's
and
what
this is wonderful.
exactly-
Just stay here. Let me wrap up the segment, and you can sit down if you
Okay.
feel like as well. But ladies and gentlemen, with that, we're actually going to go for a short break as well, and we are going to say thank you to Mr. Amir Ali for being with us. It was wonderful to be in conversation. Yes, we did hit a few serious issues, and we did talk about the cultural similarities. Yes, there are a lot of cultural similarities as well. And Mr. Amir Ali has very rightly mentioned that we need to tap into this market as well, because Chinese government actually allows 34 films to be imported from other countries as well every year. They really do not want to discuss religion. They really do not want to discuss anything which is actually going to be against their values as well. I think that the market needs to be tapped when you have more than 1 billion people living in a country. We see even across the borders that the population is more than 1 billion, and their films do very well as well, and they kind of support government by paying large number of taxes as well. I think Pakistanis need to do so, and we have all the capacity and the tendency to do so as well. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, we're going for a short break. Do go anywhere. Pak Chin Dosti, Wong Swai.
Passion for polo will be the highest on the world's highest polo ground. Chandur invites visitors to experience a traditional polo tournament between the teams of Chitral and Gilgit. The tournament is held on Chandur Pass, the highest polo ground in the world, at 3,700 meters above sea level. The first time a polo tournament took place on the Chandur Pass was in 1936. It is a place unique and exotic in itself, surrounded by some of the most spectacular mountain scenery in the world. The event marks the annual rivalry between the teams of Chitral and Gilgit. The polo tournament has some added attractions for the visitors: trout fishing at the nearby streams and lakes, and a festival of folk dances and music of northern Pakistan. The event in itself offers a fascinating insight into the lifestyle of the people of this region. Their culture and indigenous customs are a delight to behold for the visitors. Crystal clear lakes, snow-covered mountains, alpine flowers, and vast stretches of green grass are added attractions. Fairs and festivals of Pakistan. The ancient city of Taxila is the heart of stonework in Pakistan. This art, which has been preserved and practiced for centuries, can be seen on many major landmarks of the country. Notably, the Pietra Dura work in the Lahore Fort's Sheesh Mahal. These stone products take days to complete and require immense precision and skill.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for everybody who just got tuned into PTV World. You watching World this morning alongside Shahzad Khan. Earlier, ladies and gentlemen, we were in conversation with the coordinator for Silk Route Planning, Mr. Amir Ali, or in Chinese, he's actually referred to as Mr. Alex. And I think we had a great conversation as in what cultural similarities Pakistan and Chinese people have. And I think I was surprised to know that even they have joint family systems and that they live together, and then they have this immense respect for the elderly, and I think that it's beautiful. And yeah, just before the break I said Pak Chin Dosti, Wong Choi as well, and this is the way forward. But other than that, ladies and gentlemen, these days a lot of people, a lot of youngsters actually want to be a part of media, and that's what we wanted to talk about as well. Whether is it a good profession, whether do you think that people give you a lot of respect, or is it that people like okay, you work for television, but what else do you do? That's a question which I had to go through quite a lot of times in my life as well. But can you really run a house? Can you really be comfortable while working for television? These are a few questions which I'm going to ask from one of our very amazing host, news anchor over here from PTV World, ladies and gentlemen. She happens to have studied international relations and nuclear studies as well, nuclearization and deterrence and all of that. So obviously whenever I'm in conversation with her, she's a very well-spoken lady. She's got grip over the subject. But other than that, today we're going to keep it light and just ask her whether is this what she's going to do for the rest of her life, or she's going to change. If she's going to change, why is she going to change? Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Taiba Nisar Khan as well. Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning.
Walaikum salam, good morning.
How are you, Taiba?
I'm good, how are you?
Absolutely perfect. It's wonderful to have you on my show finally.
Thank you, yeah, we've been talking for quite some time, but yeah, I'm here.
It's wonderful. Thank you very much for taking out time and making sure that you're going to let people know whether television or media is an industry where everybody needs to focus on, or probably will give you greater opportunities in near future, or they should probably think about something else? Let's see what's your take on this.
I think it's great. I think it's really great. If you actually want to stay in television, if you want to make an impact, then this is the place to be. Because you don't realize, but people actually watch you.
Okay.
I think that people don't watch me, but then there's so many messages coming in, there's so many people I meet, and they're like, you're familiar.
Yeah.
And I say, am I really? Please don't say that. So I don't realize it, but I'm actually making a ripple effect, and that's very influential, and then I have a responsibility.
Yeah. But, okay, so I have a question over here, and the question is that, to create a ripple effect, it needs to be from your own thought process rather than reading it from a prompter, So you're reading what somebody else has written. Obviously, our editors, our entire news team and news staff, they do a wonderful job. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm trying to refer to is that to create a ripple effect, it needs to be your own thought process.
Absolutely.
Do you think it is while you're reading the news?
Okay, so it's very interesting.
Yeah.
I like reading the news, but I'm not exactly a very reading person.
Okay.
I would, for instance, in my class, ever since I was young, all the teachers would be like, you read.
Yeah.
So that was very interesting, and then I would always be selected as a moderator or as a host and everything in all my universities and on the conferences. I went to United Nations as well. I was a host over there in a youth assembly as well. So it's been very interesting, but then again, I want to have my own opinion. I am opinionated.
Right,
I like analysis.
Yeah.
I like analyzing.
You like a lot of it.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. You know that.
Because every time, ladies and gentlemen, I'm in conversation with her, she will have her own opinion, and believe me, the difference can be there, the difference of opinion can be there, but one way or the other, she does make really good sense as well. And to understand what the world is going through right now is a difficult job for people as young as Taiba is. And I think she's doing a wonderful job.
Thank
Please
you. You're
continue.
so kind.
Yeah.
And that's exactly why I actually enjoy extempore. I like breaking news.
Yeah.
Because I can add on.
Yeah.
And interestingly, when I have a good producer at the back, like all the producers are amazing. But so what I do is that I actually ask them to lengthen it a bit.
Okay,
so I lengthen the breaking
Yeah.
news, and I know where you're going yet, so I'm going to divert you, and I'm going to extend this that I like special transmissions as well. There is an issue like Kashmir issue, so we had a special transmission on that, and we were able to talk about it, and all its different special transmissions, 14th August.
It's great, but
Yeah.
to have a loving producer, or to have a producer who's actually very hardworking and who looks after you like a very talented human
Yes.
being, just like ours, Mr. Jamshed Saab.
Absolutely.
I think we're in love with him as well. And but for you just mentioned, because news, there are different shapes, there are different
Yes.
producers as well. So if I am to ask you, who is your favorite producer? Who are you going to name?
Okay, so I won't name one. There are actually many. And I know you're trying to trap me over here, but I'm not going to be
Sorry.
trapped, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, but go ahead.
I actually like all of them. I really do.
Okay, that's
I
good. But you still have to name one.
Okay, I'm not going to name anybody. People tell me I'm diplomatic, so I'm going to say that in that
Alright,
demeanor.
well, ladies and gentlemen, things are actually getting a little diplomatic over here, and I think that this is something which youngsters should learn. Because what happens is that youngsters are so impulsive that, every time somebody would ask them, they would actually open up their mouth. So opening up your mouth every now and then is not good. Opening up your mouth when you make sense, ladies and gentlemen, is good, and that was the only point which I tried to make. You can thank me later for saving your life as well. So coming down to the point once again as well, you enjoy it. There's a lot of respect. There are a lot of people watching you as well, and they take inspiration from you. What would be your advice to all of those people who are out there? Do you think that they need to be newscasters? Do you think they need to be anchor persons? Or do you think they need to act? Do you think they need to do movies? How do you think that there are certain people who are going to fall into this category, this category, this category? Let's see what kind of understanding you have. What kind of person should actually be a newscaster? Tell me.
So I personally feel that whatever your personal understanding of the world is and how actually you perceive the world, you should go in that arena.
All right.
Because that's where you're going to perform the best.
Okay.
If you're for instance, if you like medicine and you're stuck in news anchoring field, then I'm sorry, you wouldn't be able to perform as well, unfortunately. But if you're passionate about talking, if you're passionate about news anchoring, if you're passionate about expressing your opinion sometimes, because there are live transmissions as well, and you have to have a good understanding and a good knowledge background. So that's where you come in, and you're going to jump into this field. So I think it depends on what you like personally, and not exactly a really set rule for anything.
Okay, I think I'm going to go otherwise as well, because usually what happens is that, when you land into a TV channel, ladies and gentlemen, there are a lot of people who are experienced, who have been working for 2 or 3 decades as well, and then, they look at you, they're like, okay, you know what, probably you need to do this. So do you think that that particular person should actually go with the kind of advice he's getting from his producers or somebody who's actually working from behind the camera? Do you think that one should listen to them, or one should actually have their own direction?
Okay,
because it's
so-
very hard when you join a channel. You take influence from a lot of other people.
Yes.
Okay, you can do this, you can do this, because you're trying to fit in and gel in as well,
Yes.
and you really do not know which kind of potential to tap onto. That okay, I might
Exactly.
be good at this, I might be good at this, and then there are people who are giving you advices all day long. You know what, you can do this. You know what, you can do this. For example, I keep on telling my researcher that he can be a good news anchor, but he's not working in that direction. And I believe that he's going to be a good news anchor, but he wants to be a researcher, so that's his choice. But do you think that one should go with their own choices, or one should actually listen to all of those people who have had a lot of experience in the
Okay,
industry?
so I believe that it should be a balance of both. You always know what you want inside. There's always a gut feeling, and if you ignore your gut feeling, then that's actually wrong, because you have to listen to yourself,
Yep.
but also you have to listen to others as well. So sometimes when people are experienced, they're going to tell you that, hey, you're good at this, and you need to look into yourself and see, are you really good at that or not?
Yeah.
If you are, then go with the flow, because
Yeah.
everybody collectively thinks you are good at that, and that's where you will excel.
So this is what I'm going to ask. What is Taiba Nisar Khan good at?
I'm good at, I would say my genre and my forte is international relations.
Wow.
If I talk about sports, I won't be able to.
All right.
Whenever I have to do a breaking news on sports, I always fluster. I'm like, hey, what's happening in sports? Okay, I don't know. I love about international relations. If
Yeah.
I have any news, they're going to give me right there and then. And it has actually happened. The in charge, he actually gave me news because he knew that I would be able to cater to that.
Wow.
So I would speak for hours.
So did that ever occur to you that, all of it, because you like breaking news, so there was a breaking news which was about sports, and then you mispronounced some sportsmen or sportswomen names or something of that. So did that occur
I
to you?
worked hard. I worked really, really hard. I actually practiced all the sportsmen's name and sportswomen's
Can you
name.
remember any of those names today?
Yeah, so many of them. Max Verstappen, I guess.
Max Verstappen
I like
from
Formula
Formula 1,
One.
ladies and
Yeah,
gentlemen, yeah.
I like Formula. I'm a bit of a driver myself, I'd say.
Wow.
On
Yeah,
highway.
But you need to drive safe as well.
Yeah, not really. I don't drive that safe, but
Okay,
I
well,
like
that's
to race.
great. So, and ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to agree to this. You can't be good at everything. So, it takes time, it takes a lot of years that you eventually kind of have a grasp over everything. But there needs to be that one particular topic which you're always interested in. For
Yes.
Taiba, that's international relations. You will have to look for yourself. What is that one thing which interests you quite a lot, or you're probably seeking for that something which gives you adrenaline, which gives you energy, which gives you drive to do whatever, there's this feeling inside always. Because whenever I'll walk into the office, I'll see Taiba either reading a newspaper or reading news to you people. So these are the only two things. So she makes sure that if she's a news anchor, she's going to keep herself up to date. She's equipped with all kinds of news from all over the world, and this is very important.
Absolutely.
But
I
you-
actually agree with you, because see, international relations is my forte. So if I talk about that, and if I actually stay in journalism, then I would focus on international relations journalism and
Alright.
not maybe national politics or
Yeah,
anything else.
okay.
Because that way our journalism will be even better, and it will be more, I guess, filtered, because that way everybody would have a forte, and then they would talk about that which they know,
Wonderful.
and there will be better analysis as well. So
Wonderful. Taiba, you are very talented, and obviously there's no need for me to say it because you know it already. Alhamdulillah, the
you.
world
I'm
knows it
humbled.
as well. But very quickly towards the end, there's only one last question which I wanted to ask you, and that is something which hurts me quite a lot. In the evening, I think all of Pakistan actually loves to talk about politics or how things are in the country, and those are some things, ladies and gentlemen, that people cannot make a change in, but they would love to talk about it. But the only thing which hurts me is that the kind of journalism exists over here within Pakistan. I have a lot of regret, and it is because of that we see our politicians using foul language. We see our politicians throwing shoes at each other.
Yes.
We see leadership doing things which the leadership wouldn't be doing, and it is all in the name of journalism. Do you think that this is journalism?
no, it's yellow journalism.
Yeah.
It is journalism, but it's yellow journalism,
Yeah.
and that's very unfortunate, not only in Pakistan, but all over the world. India, I guess, has the most yellow journalism as well. We have such an outspoken, unfortunate anchor person in India. And then, of course, you were talking about
Yeah.
leaders and the mudslinging as well, and the foul language, which is very unfortunate, because there's a trickle-down effect. If the top leadership uses bad language and bad expressions, then the bottom are definitely going to follow them.
Exactly.
And then there's the US debate we saw, there was a lot of mudslinging. And what are the bottom states going to think of that? They're going to take it up, and they're going to definitely use that language as well in their domestic politics.
Exactly. Thank you very much, Taiba, for taking our time and expressing your views about whatever I asked you. Thank you very much for being so prompt too. And ladies and gentlemen, okay, so we've given you an insight over how the life is of a news anchor as well. And someday probably I'll talk about it as well. But Taiba, you're doing a great job. You're an asset to PTV, and make sure that you strive for excellence every single day, and that's what she does as well. And this is what we need to do, ladies and gentlemen, strive for excellence. Please make sure that you write to us on our Facebook page, which is with the name of World This Morning, on your television screens. On Twitter, it's World This Morning. On Daily Motion, it's World This Morning. On YouTube, it's PTV World, and then you look for the most viewed morning show, which is World This Morning. Shukar Alhamdulillah. The fabulous repeat is going to be at 5 past midnight. Till the next time, look after yourselves. 1, 2, 3. Good morning, people. Bye.